You are listening to the first ever Baton Twirling podcast. This is the Baton Twirling Project. Today's guest is so fun. She's a former Miss Texas who made it into the top 10 at Miss America. If you have ever seen the GIF or however you say it, of the girl in black with the red hair, that is her. She is also living her dream of twirling for the University of Texas. I cannot tell you how excited I am for today's episode with Caroline Carothers. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me.
So go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you are currently known for.
Yes, so my name is Caroline Carothers. I am currently the featured twirler at the University of Texas. But the way I kind of got involved with baton twirling, I actually was a military brat. So moved all around the nation, but we started in Enid, Oklahoma, where my first coaches were Kim and Belva Lamb.
Oh my goodness. So
Allie Akers was my role model. Mm-hmm. I always told myself, I want to twirl like Allie, I want to be like Allie, and I want to smile like Allie. So I always give her credit, as Allie was the one that taught me how to smile. So they were the ones I started with, but as my dad had to move, again, for the Air Force, we were like, well, you can't move anywhere that doesn't have baton twirling within an hour of a drive. Yeah. So we moved to O'Fallon, Illinois. So then I took from Holly Smith, James now, and Sugar Smith. So that was such a treat, getting to learn a lot from the major. And one of my favorite stories was Holly was actually really sick with her second pregnancy. And Sugar had a broken collarbone. But since Holly couldn't teach me, she's like, well, I can do it anyway. And so she came and taught me a lesson with a broken collarbone. And to this day, I still admire her more than you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then from there, I moved to San Antonio, Texas, and I have Patty Mickey as my coach. So I still consider her my coach and call her for coaching advice. And it's so funny because she's like, we're equal now. Like, you're not. But I love and adore that family so much. I've always looked up to the Mickeys.
They are fantastic.
So they're a wonderful resource, and wonderful people to have by your side at all times. So from there, I decided, okay, I want to be able to twirl in college. It had always been my dream to twirl at a major university in Texas. So that's where I landed myself at Baylor. That's where the timing had worked out, the school, the fit, everything about it was just perfect. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to go to Baylor for my undergrad. Halfway in between, I had a little curveball thrown in my way, as you could say. So I won the title of Miss Texas and was able to compete on the Miss America stage representing baton twirling. And just throughout my entire year, I realized how much baton twirling had done for me. And being able to reflect back on that during my year and be able to share it with such a unique audience and a brand new audience was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I always say, when I was on the Miss America stage, I could hear Texas and the baton twirling world cheering for me because they were so loud.
Through the channels of whatever's out there, electronic, I think everyone was just blowing up Facebook that night, like,
yes,
we might see our first twirler Miss America, oh my gosh.
I know. I still remember panicking, not being able to read and check and respond to every single Facebook and message everything, because I was just so thankful for all the support from baton twirling. But since I did not win, my incredible friend Abby Shields from Arkansas won, and it was the perfect opportunity for her, and I realized I was truly meant to be back in Texas. So when I came back to Texas, I got to tour the incredible and large state for an entire year, took a gap year from Baylor, and got to share my sport. So baton twirling was part of my school program. I was teaching students about doing well in school, respect, and perseverance. And what better sport, what better tool to use to teach perseverance than baton twirling and juggling? So that is how I incorporated baton twirling, got to share my sport with all of the children in Texas.
Oh, that is too amazing.
I returned to Baylor and graduated with my undergraduate with a BBA in management, and then I worked hard to get my master's and applied to be the University of Texas featured twirler and a master's student and get my degree in higher education leadership.
Great.
I told you so much more. I was like, there's my entire life story in 10 minutes.
So as far as Miss Texas, what has been your most treasured experience while you did that? I know you probably had a ton, but what was the one that stuck out to you?
Besides performing on the Miss America stage, and standing in a pit of rattlesnakes.
Oh my goodness.
I really enjoyed the small towns. Small towns ended up being the most pleasantly surprising part of my entire journey. Just because I never grew up in a crazy small town, and so I thought, oh, small town, like there's that many people, or the parade start to finish is only 6 minutes long. Are you sure? Do we hit the whole town? Okay. So transitioning from such a large town, you know, big city life to the small towns, I realized there's one thing in common, and that's the people. Yeah. And how down to earth every single person was. And that is when I truly felt at home as I was traveling, because I wasn't home with my family. I did not spend a lot of time with my family during that year because the people of Texas were essentially my family. And just, again, having a lot of the volunteers, what a lot of people don't know is the Miss America organization is 100% volunteers. And so I had a business manager that was taking care of me. I was living with one of my traveling companions.
Oh, wow.
Jackie Estes, who was one of my favorite humans in the whole wide world. She has a few grandkids and a great grandbaby. And so just being able to do life with her was very eye-opening and very humbling and just so relaxing at the same time. There was no one else I wanted to go home to except Jackie. So.
I ran a Miss Arizona local when I lived in Arizona, and that was a lot of work. And yes, it was all 100% volunteers. I had so many friends I had to reach out to, just, hey, do you guys want to be, like, do you guys want to help sponsor? I'll get your name out there. And, trying to do all that, I can't even imagine doing it in Texas, because it's a whole other ball game here.
I admire my local directors. I had the opportunity to work with quite a few as I competed in team for 3 years and then won Miss Texas on my third try to Miss. But again, my local directors, so much credit. And they're still doing it too. I was like, oh, I didn't scare you away. I was always afraid. I'm sorry, I'm a Baton twirler, because they're always sitting on, you know, the edge of their seat, like, ooh, right next to my mom, panicking. How is she going to drop? Is she going to drop? You know how that pressure goes. But they did come back, and they're still incredible volunteers for the Miss America organization.
That's so awesome. One thing, so I'll ask you more about being at UT, but the one thing I want to talk about is how awesome was it to meet Jimmy Fallon?
Oh, it was so cool. That was something completely unexpected. And I found out later that our drum major, who's become one of my best friends, Allie Morales, knew about the entire thing all semester.
Oh, wow.
Allie, really? You couldn't have told me? So we've made a deal that next year, if any famous people come, she will let me know as soon as we find out, because I was just so jealous and wanted to know everything. But Jimmy Fallon was just as charismatic as he was off camera as he is on camera. And that was something I found very surprising. Not having the opportunity to interact with celebrities every single day. But he loves his job and he loves the community of Austin. So the story is he watched the LSU UT football game. He's not a big college football fan, but he just had it on and was like, wait a second, Austin, that looks like a cool place. That looks like a cool thing. So he called his production staff and said, I want to go to Austin. Let's do a college show.
Nice.
So that's what they ended up doing. They road tripped down to Austin, and it was the best experience. His production team just kept saying, this is one of the coolest and most incredibly dynamic audiences that he's ever worked with. And I was like, I can see why. There's a lot to do in Austin. But just realizing I was standing 2 feet from him, and immediately when I met him, he reached out his hand, and we do-si-doed on stage, which was crazy, and gave me a hug and said, thanks for all you do. I was like, yeah, can I get a picture with you really fast to document this entire process? But he was wonderful. Getting to share it with the Longhorn Band was the best part.
Yeah. Oh, if he comes back, I'll have to call you up and just see what you're doing that day.
We'll get you a backstage pass. Yes. We'll make it work.
You hear that, Jimmy? Come back to Austin. Have you met Matthew McConaughey?
I did. He is our Minister of Culture.
Oh, okay.
Nobody understands or knows what that title means at the University of Texas, but hey. After, there was actually a funny graphic where they took pretty much all aspects of the fans and posted it all together in one collage, and so I shared that, and one of my friends commented, oh, we need to have co-Minister of Culture, Caroline Carothers and Matthew McConaughey, and I said, okay, I can get on board with that. That sounds good.
Sure, I guess.
But no, it was really neat. I caught him at a rough time. It was right after the devastating loss of UT and LSU. So I saw him about 10 feet in front of me and thought, if I don't ask now, I'll probably never get the opportunity to meet him. So we did get a picture. Again, I did catch him at a bad time because that was a tough loss.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
He was great on the Jimmy Fallon show. He had a blast, and one of my really good friends, Ivan, runs Big Bertha, who is the sweetheart of the Longhorn Band and that giant drum.
Yeah.
So when they made a deal that, okay, Matthew and Jimmy can hit Big Bertha, which is very special permission because she, like I said, is the sweetheart of the Longhorn Band and we take very good care of her. As they were rolling her out, they bumped Matthew and almost knocked him over with Big Bertha. That was one of my favorite stories. Very candid moment, so...
what has been your personal favorite experience besides the Jimmy Fallon show?
Walking into the stadium for the first time when it was full.
Love it.
We are very fortunate with the Longhorn Band to be able to practice in the stadium at DKR twice a week. So we practice in the bubble, which is our indoor facility on turf on Mondays, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays we get to practice in Darrell K. Royal. And that is, first of all, just very fortunate because not every band has the opportunity to do that. So by the end of preseason week and the first week of practice, I'm thinking, I totally have this. This is easy. Whatever, perfect. 100,000 people doesn't faze me. Walking in with it the first time when it was packed was just a whole new dynamic. I thought I knew nerves at Miss America until I walked out into the stadium for the first time. And there's always so many famous people and just very important people there at UT because UT holds such a strong legacy. I saw Governor Abbott one time and I was running off to grab my second baton and I just, in the moment, stopped and waved at him and he waved back. And I thought, okay, I have this under the leg catch coming up. Hopefully I catch it. And as soon as I did, I just looked right at him. It's like, hey, look what I can do. So just stories like that just go on and never end.
Great. What plans do you have currently after you finish at UT, and what do you plan to do afterward?
Absolutely. So, that's kind of the question you ask seniors in high school, seniors in undergrad. What's the next step? It's just a little daunting at this point in time, but currently I'm working on getting an internship within the field of education. So I have always had a heart for education. I'm getting my master's in higher ed leadership. So thinking, okay, I could see myself working in athletics or as an academic or career advisor, something like that. I am very happy. I'm in my happy place when I'm motivating other people.
Yes.
And so whatever role that is, I want to be able to do that full time because that fills my cup at the end of the day. And that's where I feel the most impact. And when I can see that impact, it makes such a difference. But one thing that I've recently found out is HEB has a very strong initiative. They donate millions to education every year. And being part of something like that would be so fulfilling.
Oh, yeah. What advice do you have for any younger twirlers, especially the ones who want to twirl in college or just, twirl for Miss America, just keep twirling after high school? What advice do you have?
One of the most important skills that a baton twirler can learn is how to be adaptable. So especially once you graduate high school, when you're twirling in college, you don't know if you're going to be twirling on concrete, outside, on the field, if it's going to be pouring outside. You never know what the conditions are going to be. And so learning how to adapt, what's one of my favorite phrases is adapt, adjust, and overcome. And if a college twirler, any twirler, can learn how to handle that and be strong and confident in their preparation, that'll get them so far in life.
I absolutely agree. I think that's great advice. Well, cool. Thank you so much for coming on with us. This is such a special treat. And if you can't hear, we're at a baton contest right now. So there's a bunch of cheering and yelling going on in the background. But we tried to find a quiet place. So we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you again for coming on with us. I'm so excited to share this episode.
Thank you for having me. As always, hug 'em.
I know I say this every week, but I truly appreciate you tuning into the podcast. Baton twirling is a huge part of my life, and I assume the same for you or someone you know if you're listening. Help us get the podcast out to more listeners by liking and sharing these episodes. Have a great week, y'all. We'll catch you next time.